Today's demonstration is on blending a sphere. When you first do this, it takes a little bit. You have to get used to how blending works. The first thing you're going to do is make a sphere. You don't have to make it a huge sphere. Okay? I don't even have to erase this, but I'm going to anyway. Okay? So our sphere is here. I'm going to make the light source over here. Okay? Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do something called blocking. What blocking is taking a color and filling in the entire object with that color. This is going to be a grayscale sphere, so I'm going to make it middle gray. So mix your black and white and make a middle gray. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as the one that I'm doing right now. All right, so the whole thing is going to be painted in. I didn't mix enough, so I gotta mix more. It doesn't matter how you paint this because you're going to be painting over it. Now, if you have an apple or a peach, whatever it may be, you are going to block in the color first. So in this case, if it's an apple like I'm talking about, you want to block in red. Since this is a grayscale sphere, we're doing middle gray. But that's what blocking is. This way, you don't see the white of the paper through all the details that you're going to paint in. Right? When you're listening to me explain how to do the blending, feel free to pause the video because it might go too fast for you. All right, now you're done with the blending, the blocking in of the color. The next thing you're going to do is do the darkest part, which is where? Always opposite of the light source, right here. Going to take black only. You don't need to wash out your brush. You're using gray throughout. You don't need to wash it off. So this is the darkest part of the sphere because the light is there. It's right underneath the sphere. Okay? So you're going to make a crescent moon shape or a C on its side, however you want to categorize it. That's what you're going to make. Okay? It's the first thing you do. Now, your paintbrush is filled with black and also the gray from before. So if you paint that a little bit on your palette, you'll notice that the black will get a little bit lighter. You can put the next shade right next to this black. You want to get the next tone as close as you can to the previous one. And you just paint it. Same crescent moon. Now you notice that I'm going back and forth and back and forth. The paint underneath is already wet. So as you paint, it's mixing this. What you need to be careful of is that you don't lose the black that's right here. If you do, you just go back, get some more black, and fill it back in. This is what I was saying, that it takes practice to do this. Okay? My paintbrush is falling apart. That's okay. Okay? Go back, bring out the gray that's in your brush. Again, you can even add a little bit of white to move on. Right? You should be able to see that my gray is a little bit lighter than it was before, which is okay. Want that. Just make sure you give yourself enough paint, because Mrs. Legrid did not give herself enough paint, so she has to mix. Okay. Now that's too dark, you can tell. I need more white. All right. You don't want to jump all of a sudden, like I jumped all of a sudden to this this middle gray. So I got to go back and make a tone that's closer to this gray. Because remember what I said, you don't want it to jump suddenly from this black to a dark gray, and then all of a sudden you have this light gray right next to it. That's not how light works. That's not how shadows work. Okay, a little bit lighter now. Now I'm getting that scratchy texture because I didn't mix enough paint. Notice how I'm going back over the gray that I already did. The reason that I'm doing that is because I'm trying to blend it so you can't tell where black ends, where dark gray starts, and where the next gray starts. So I'm going painting. Now, when you first start out doing this, you'll notice that you keep going back and forth, back and forth. That's fine. You'll get the hang of it. Blending is one of the harder things to learn when you're painting. That's why it's great to block it in first, because you can use the gray that's still wet underneath. I went back and I put this black back in. All right, now we're going to go to the next gray. You can just use the gray that you already mixed here. See, it's dark gray here. Now I need some white. You can put a little dab and see that's close. No, it's the same color, so I need more white. You notice that I'm not filling my paintbrush, rinsing my paintbrush out. I don't need to. There's no reason to. A lot of people, since we did watercolors before, you're used to rinsing out your paintbrush. You do not have to for this because it's all gray. Right? Need more paint. Now see what I did? That's okay. Just put some black in there to fix that gray. This is why you have a week to work on your 3 forms, because this takes practice. You'll be doing a lot of back and forth, back and forth. Oh, oops, too dark. Gotta go back, get some white. It's okay. Stick with it. You'll get it. That's still not the right color, so I gotta put more white. Now, keep in mind, this is a little rough looking because I'm using a brush that's a little too big. But that's okay, because this way you can see what I'm doing. All right, and you notice that I went back over the line where you can see. If you're getting frustrated with the brush, you can use your finger. Kind of like when you're drawing and you smudge with your finger, you can do the same thing with painting. Some people don't like that because your finger gets all dirty. Okay, I'm now at the spot where I'm above the sphere. Okay, I've just climbed the hill. Now I can see the light source. What you want to do now that you're up to this point is start going from this dark gray to at this point you should be middle gray. So if you're still in dark grayville, you need to change and get to middle grayville, because from here on in it's going to be middle gray to light grays. Okay, make sure you remember that, because sometimes people take the dark gray all the way to the end and then they have a light gray right here, which is not how it works. Okay, if you want, you can brush out your brush and start making light middle gray. So you can rinse out that black that's in your brush that might interfere with making a middle gray. Okay, I still have middle gray here. I'm gonna make more. Oh, by the way, a good hint is to squeeze out your brush on the side of your glass and squeeze it out so that way you don't have so much water mixed with your paint. You don't want a lot of water. Okay. Now we know that this is too light because we need it closer to that gray. So it needs to be a little bit darker. See how light that is? It needs to be a lot darker. Not a lot, but more dark. There we go. Notice that I'm keeping the curve of my line curved. The reason is because it's a curved object. Now you see what's happening with my brush? That's because there is light in the brush right here.